Hi, John with PadPrinters.com. We're going to talk about pads. So, pads come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. There's just 5 of them here. We've got hundreds of them, all the way up to as big as your head. So, here's a typical pad. This is the biggest pad that's available for the Tosh Micro 90. This is a S390 pad in Zero Shore. This pad has a double base and it's hollow. So, you can compress it very large. I'll explain why that's important later. So this is a cone-shaped pad, the most common shape in pad printing you're going to find. Here's a little cone-shaped pad with a more pronounced point. Then you have what we call like a saddle pad, or some people call them a fish belly pad. You have a long axis and a short axis of curve. This is a pretty popular pad also for printing on small images. Then you have a rooftop shaped pad, which as the name would indicate is shaped like the top of a roof. So here's a big one, here's a smaller one. This is also closer to being like a saddle pad because, I don't know if you can see it, but there is some fall in this axis and also a pronounced point there. So all pads have a point or a ridge, and the reason is because as the pad is compressing onto the surface of the plate or cliche, you want it to be pushing out all of the air so that the ink comes off of the plate without having bubbles or pinholes in it. Same is true when you're compressing onto whatever the object is that you want to print. In this case, say this cover. So as the pad's compressing, you want it to compress and push all the air out of the way and transfer the image without voids. When pads come in new, they're usually pretty slimy with excess silicone oil from the molding process. So when pads are new, you need to break them in. That means taking acetone is what we recommend, and paper towels, soak it with acetone, and wipe this pad aggressively for several minutes to try to get the excess oil off of the surface and out of the first couple of microns of the pad surface. Once you've done that, you shouldn't have to clean the pad again with acetone unless you drop it on the floor and get it completely filthy. What you usually should use to clean pads is just packing tape, or if you have an automatic pad cleaner on your machine, the tape that's used on the automatic pad cleaner. Just by putting some packaging tape on your hand and patting the surface of the pad, it's going to remove excess ink and debris from the pad. Storage of pads. You should store pads on their base, not stacking them, because pads have memory, so you don't want to do that. I recommend keeping them maybe in a cabinet. Just keep them out of direct sunlight, and probably in a cabinet, or maybe like in a Rubbermaid bin or something like that, so they can be covered and they're not constantly getting dirt and debris on them. People always ask, how long do pads last? Typically, a pad will last 35, 50,000 impressions, maybe more, maybe less. The way that pads wear out isn't always from mechanical abrasion or cuts and things like that. What happens is each time you pick up and transfer the ink, you're taking some of that silicone oil out of the pad, and that silicone oil is what gives the pad its transfer characteristics. So over time, just in normal production, even if you're not scuffing the pad or cutting it or punching holes in it by accident, the pad is going to wear out. So maybe a good idea to do is write the date on there when you install the pad, and that way if you have an idea of how many parts you're printing a day, you can soon gather enough information that you know about when your pad's going to stop transferring efficiently. Some companies offer some stuff called long life oil, which is really just silicone oil that they suggest you apply to the surface of the pad to rejuvenate it. It doesn't work. It's like trying to put blood back into somebody who's already bled to death. Once the pad's lost its oil, it's worn out and it needs to be discarded. So that's it on pads. If you have any questions, you can contact me at john@padprinters.com. Thanks.